Well, we're glad you're going to be there. That's wonderful. Well, welcome everyone to Shabbat services. And as we like to do at the beginning of every month, we enjoy our Share Shabbat format. Even though we don't have our fried chicken, we have each other, and we've got stories, and we've got lots of uplifting music. So with that, I want to just welcome everyone and hand this over to Courtney, who has all of the work tonight, mostly because it is a musical Shabbat. So Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Please join me in singing and bringing in our Shabbat together. Sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova uveracha. Sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova uveracha, yelelais, yelelai, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova uveracha. Sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova uveracha, yelelais, yelelai, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova uveracha. Olam chesed, olam chesed yibana. Olam chesed yibana. Olam chesed yibana. Olam chesed yibana. I will build this world from love. And you must build this world from love. And if we build this world from love, then God will build this world from love. Let's ooh, And as we continue together, we will light the candles and say the blessing. And Rabbi Bodney Hallis is going to lead us in the lighting, but I will lead everyone in the singing.
I hope I will be. This might be more complicated than I thought. I think I have some matches.
So I've got a lighter here you could borrow.
Thank you. That's going to be very helpful. Oh, I got them. Because, you know, that's where my pen should be, but I've carried matches instead. Try. I think we're good.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat. Hinei matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. 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 How good it is, how good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hinei matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Shalom alechem, salam aleikum. Shalom alechem, salam aleikum. Shalom alechem, salam aleikum. Shalom alechem, salam aleikum. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hinei matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Shalom alechem, salam aleikum. Shalom alechem, salam aleikum. Shalom alechem, salam aleikum. Shalom alechem, salam aleikum. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hinei matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. matom umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Borei golel or mipnei choshech, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Borei balayla, golel or mipnei choshech, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or.
We live in a very busy world, but we put aside one day every week for rest. That day is Shabbat. Shabbat is the time that we come together to be with ourselves, our families, our friends, and with God. Let my prayer be to learn to pause, if only for this day. Let me find peace on this day. Let me enter into a quiet world this day. God, we thank you for our special holy day. We thank you for helping us make our lives holy through this celebration of Shabbat. Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. You may be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'ribarata bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlektecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha
וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתיכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Adonai Elohechem, amen. And the women dancing with the timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women dance and dance the whole night long. And Miriam was a weaver of unique variety. The tapestry she wove was one which sang our history. With every strand and every thread she crafted her delight. A woman touched with spirit, she dances toward the light. And the women dancing with the timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. When Miriam stood upon the shores and gazed across the sea, the wonder of this miracle she soon came to believe. Whoever thought the sea would part with an outstretched hand, and we would pass to freedom and march to the promised land. And the women dancing with the timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. And Miriam the prophet took her timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her just as she had planned. And Miriam raised her voice in song, she sang with praise and might. We've just lived through a miracle, we're going to dance tonight. And the women dancing with the timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar v'kodesh, norati lo tosei felet, norati lo tosei felet. Malchutecha ra'u v'anecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze'elianu ve'amru, ze'elianu ve'amru, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. A thought has blown the marketplace away. There is a song on the wind and joy in the trees. Shabbat has arrived in the world, scattering a song in the silence of the night, and eternity is a day, and eternity is a day. Yai rai rai, yai rai rai, yai rai 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 rai, yai rai rai, yai rai 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 rai, yai rai rai, yai rai rai, yai rai 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 rai, yai rai rai, yai rai 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 rai. A thought has blown the marketplace away. There is a song on the wind and joy in the trees. Shabbat has arrived in the world, scattering a song in the silence of the night, and eternity is a day, and eternity is a day. Yai rai rai, yai rai rai, yai rai 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 rai, yai rai rai, yai rai 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 rai. Adonai Sfatai Tiftach Ufi Yagit Hilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei HaKol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imot, U'mevii Geula Livnei Bneihem, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם, בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, בחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטוב, מחלקי לחיים בחסד, בחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לישני עפר, מלחמוך בעל גבורות, ומרומך מלך במית ומחיי, ומצמיח ישועה. פני אתה לחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. You may be seated. I invite you to take a moment for private prayer and meditation before we return again. Ratzon imrefi ve'yoni bi lefanecha Adonai tzuri Adonai tzuri Begali
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I am about to share a story with you that I hope will be uplifting. But one of the reasons that we have our stories here are because stories help us to be inspired. Sometimes hearing things alone, sometimes it makes a point, but it doesn't quite make the point just as well as when we hear something through a story. But we have something even better than a story that teaches us a lesson. We have a real story that teaches a lesson. So I just wanted to ask Bert to share for a second something inspiring for us that's going on, that's a real story in his family. Bert, I don't know what it is with your family. They always happen to be doing these amazing things. We could hear you. Now you're muted. You're still muted. You want the little red thing to go away.
Okay. Anyway, you all look beautiful, and we're just happy to be here. And I wrote to you, Rabbi, not to disturb you, but to let you know that while we are here praying together, a lovely young girl named Molly Seidel is in the front ranks of the Olympic marathon runners representing the US and, of course, Temple Israel. I don't know how far along she's gotten, but she was there for nearly the first hour, and it'll be 2.5 to 3 hours. But how do you like those apples?
She's not related as far as we know. But
oh, yes, she is.
She is from Wisconsin. She is from Wisconsin, where Bert's dad was from. So maybe she is.
Oh, I thought it was. I was wondering because the spelling was different.
Right, right.
Well, call me gullible. I totally believe you. So
okay, let's all together say, "Go Molly."
Go Molly.
Go Molly. Okay, thank you.
And now I'll go on to sharing one of my favorite stories for Shabbat. I remember first hearing this when I was a young kid as a camper at camp. But the story is about a Jew who had come from this was in the 16th century. And after the Jews had been expelled from Spain, they had gone everywhere to France, Germany, Salonika. Some even went to the Holy Land. And one of those was a young man named Jacobi, who was a shoemaker by trade. And he was a little bow-legged, but a kind man. And the thing that everybody said about him beyond anything else was just that he was such a devout man, because he would go to the synagogue every Sabbath and listen intently to what the rabbi was saying. And this was a little strange, not because the rabbi was saying something worthwhile, but because Jacobi spoke Spanish while the rabbi spoke in Hebrew. But still he'd, make this face and listen, trying to just catch every single word. On one Shabbat, the rabbi gave a sermon, and in it he mentioned how 12 loaves of bread were offered to God when the Holy Temple was still in Jerusalem. Jacobi understood the word bread, and he understood the word God. He got so excited that he ran home to his wife and said, "Esperanza, guess what I found out? God eats bread. You are the best baker in the whole country. Make this week a loaf, 12 loaves, and I will bring them to God." And so that week, Esperanza kneaded in those best ingredients. She put in her best intentions and braided the bread lovingly. The next week, Jacobi proudly carried his loaves into the synagogue. And when he entered, he said, "Señor Dios, I have got your bread, and you will see that you will love it. For my wife, Esperanza, is such a wonderful baker. You'll eat every loaf, every crumb. And with that, he took out the bread and he opened up the ark and he stuck it inside of the ark and closed it. No sooner did he leave than in came the shamus, who was the synagogue's caretaker. Oh God, you know I love to be here in this holy place, he said. That is all I want. But 7 weeks now, I've been working and I haven't been paid. I need you to do something, a miracle for me. You should make for me a miracle, and I know that you are going to do it. Maybe you've already done it already. Maybe I'll open the holy ark and there will be a miracle in there. The shamus walked to the ark and opened it, and there indeed was his miracle. He found in there 12 loaves of bread. 2 for the first Shabbat meal, 2 for the second, 2 for the third, and a loaf for every day of the week. The next day, when Jacoby and Esperanza opened the ark and saw that there was no bread there, as you can imagine, you should have seen the look of love that was on his face. The next week, it was the same. In the week after that, it continued. And the shamus learned to have faith in God. That if he hung around the synagogue too much or came to work too early, the miracle never happened. And so 30 years went by, and 30 years, Jacoby came to the synagogue with his load of bread. And he spoke to God and said, Señor Dios, I know your bread has been lumpy lately. Esperanza's arthritis, maybe you could do something. You'd eat better. Jacoby put the bread in the ark, as usual, and he started to leave, when suddenly the rabbi grabbed him and demanded, what are you doing? Jacoby, of course, replied, I'm bringing God his bread. God doesn't eat bread, said the rabbi. Well, he's been eating Esperanza's bread for 30 years. Now, the rabbi and Jacoby hid to see if they could figure out what was going on. No sooner did they hide than in came the shamus, who began to mutter, I hate to bring it up, but the bread's really been lumpy lately. Maybe you could talk with an angel about that. And he reached in to grab the bread, when suddenly, of course, the rabbi jumped out and grabbed him too. The rabbi began to yell at the 2 men, telling them how sinful they were. He ranted about all of this until all 3 men began to cry. Jacoby began to cry because he wanted only to do good. The rabbi began to cry because all of this had happened as a result of his sermon. And the shamus began to cry because suddenly he realized there was going to be no more bread. Over the sound of their weeping, the 3 men suddenly heard laughter in the corner. They turned to see. It was the great mystic of Sfat, Isaac Luria, who was shaking his head and laughing. He said, Oh, Rabbi, these men are not sinful. These men are devout. You should know that God has never had more fun than watching what goes on in your synagogue on the Sabbath. He sits with his angels and they laugh. I mean, this man brings the bread and that man takes the bread and you get all the credit. You must beg forgiveness of these men, Rabbi. He then looked at Jacoby and he said, Jacoby, you must do something even more difficult. You must bring your bread directly to the shamus, and you must believe with perfect faith that God will be just as pleased and have just as much fun. And so it was, and so it is. Of course, this is a wonderful story to remind us that all of us have the opportunity to play the role of helping others, to be God's vehicles in this world, to make the world a better place and to do acts of love and kindness. Each of them makes such a difference, even when we don't necessarily see the whole picture. So, Shabbat Shalom.
As we think of our own powers in this world, we think of those who are in need of healing, who we may also be able to be an extension of God as we too bring healing. This Shabbat, we pray especially for Maxine Rubin, Nikki Lapine, Jonathan Carrico, Noah Lapine Carrico, Marlene Mayman, Cicely Nathan, Sarah Swenson, Candace Chapin, Diane Schreier, Jim Hagan, Gershon Ruvain Ben Esther, Linda Dean Harris, Rivka Bat Avraham Visara, William Rossi, Rosalind Moss, Pat Bloom, Ronald Epstein, Helen Fine, James Hockman, Christine Wagner, Tracy Huddleston, Joe McKenna, Jerry McDonald, Richard Lieberman, Joel Pinsker, Marty Sacker, Bob and Gert Kahn, Chelsea Smith, and Deborah Seidel. There are other names, other people that we ought think of. I invite you to share their names aloud in your homes or add them to the chat as we pray with the words of Misha Barak on the screen in front of you. Misha Barak Avotenu v'Imotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah, v'Yivarech et hacholim. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill, as we now sing together the words of Misha Barak on the screen in front of you.
Yishberach Avotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov. Yishberach Imotenu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, v'Rachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your hope. May our hearts be filled with understanding and strengthened by the power of your love. Bless us with a vision for tomorrow. Help us to reach out to those in pain. May the warmth of friendship ease our sorrow. Give us courage, give us faith, show us the way. Yishberach Avotenu, Yishberach Imotenu. Hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer. Bless us as well. At this time, I ask those of you who are able to please rise and join me with Aleinu, whether it be in physically or in spirit. Aleinu l'shabach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם כלגנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. הנה אמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, היום ההוא והיום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו You may be seated.
Our thoughts turn to those whom death has taken from us recently. As a congregation, we are in a period of shloshim for Jennifer Thomas Larson, Phil Rubin, Opal Law, and Sil Sapinsley. We think of those who have died at this season in years past, with the yahrzeits of Carmen Angel, Stanford D. Bierman, Clara Burke, May S. Chudd, Stanley Donenfeld, Samuel Farr, Leon B. Frank, Max Friedman, Harry Gerson, Clara Gradsky, Rose Heller, Dorothy Hughes, Deborah Klass, Grace Kupferberg, Sam Laterman, Blanche W. Lebensberger, Mildred B. Margolis, Arthur K. Margolis, Ilse Marks, Maxwell Nathan, Sephora Orlov, Anna K. Osnes, Jay Parrots, Frida H. Patterson, Rose Rabinovitz, Edward Rao, Morty Roshkind, June Siegel, Phil Severin, Benjamin R. Shaman, Martin Shapiro, Elias Torf, and Maxine Weinberger. And we also recall this Shabbat as this week we marked the second anniversary of the Oregon District shooting, the 9 victims that lost their lives too soon that day: Logan Turner, Beatrice Nicole Warren Curtis, Lois Oglesby, Thomas T.J. McNichols, Derek Fudge, Nicholas Kummer, Monica Brickhouse, Megan Betts, and Saeed Saleh. There are other names that ought be added to our list or pronounced more correctly. I invite you to share them now. I invite those in mourning or remembering to rise first. So we join them rising in heart or in body for the words of Mourner's Kaddish. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah v'alma divrach chirute v'yamlich malchute v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah Mivarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya Yit Barach v'yishtabach V'yit Pa'ar v'yit Romam v'yit Naseh v'yit Hadar v'yit Ale v'yit Halal Shemei Dekudesha B'rechu Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata Ta'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba min Shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimrumav, huya aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories always and only be for a blessing. You may be seated if you wish, as we join together in our closing prayer. We thank you, O God, for our family and for what we mean and bring to one another. We are grateful for the bonds of loyalty and affection which sustain us and for the capacity to love and to care. Bless our family, our congregation, our country, and our people with health, happiness, and contentment. Above all, grant us the wisdom to build a joyous and peaceful home in which your spirit will always abide. Amen.
Invite those of you who have your Kiddush wine with you to raise your glasses or your Kiddush grape juice and join me in the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu Shabbat kocho be'ahava uvratzon inchilanu zikaron l'ma'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila l'mikra'e kodesh zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'charta ve'otanu kirashta mikol ha'amim Shabbat koshecha, lava uvratzon, inchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh, HaShabbat, L'chaim. L'chaim. Shabbat shalom.
If everybody has some
Rabbis have a nice, beautiful challah. Motzi lachem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Motzi lachem min haaretz. B'tei avon. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Invite you to unmute yourself, wish your friends, your neighbors, your fellow community members a hello and a Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Enjoy your week.
You as well.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
So,
And just as a reminder, next Friday we are in person at Temple Israel for services at 6:30. So hope you will join us. If you are more comfortable if the virtual format, we will have a virtual service on Saturday morning. But we'd love to see you for our first Friday night back since March of 2020. Woohoo!
Go Friday. Go Friday.
No reservations necessary, right?
No
We don't
reservations.
have, no, okay.
Just your smiling faces.